All right, welcome to this build review. Today I'm going to look at a run I did earlier today where I started with a elemental depth charge and then I transitioned it into an anchor late game build. I wanted to highlight this one because I think it's important to understand how a build can, pivot really hard from one build to another. I mean, EDC and anchor have a lot of similarities, and I think it's going to be really important to see what elements of the depth charge turned into the elements of the anchor. But all right, let's get underway. Day one, you kind of have to just pick something to win with. And for me, it was a poison enchanted toxic catfish that was based off the level 2 level up. And I'm interested, I'm playing these cinders here just for fun. Realistically, I just want the beach ball to only haste the catfish so that it benefits, it scales when you haste it. I have a poison skill and I have this Bjorn gift here, and what it's doing is it's whenever I poison, it's going to get more regen. So I'm basically trying to kill my opponent here with poison, and day one, day two, poison is very strong, especially having 8 poison that's going to scale. So not a whole lot to talk about this day other than I easily won. All right, moving into day two. So during the day, I picked up a lighter, a Zorcid, a Yeti crab, and a pop snappers. The interesting thing here is that I was thinking of maybe not playing the pop snappers just to have the beach ball potentially haste the catfish even more. But then I was thinking, okay, well, that pop snappers is going to charge the Zorcid, which will haste the catfish. So ultimately, this is a nice setup here for some poison, but it also allows you to maybe go into burn. So I'm just kind of keeping my options open, but it's a strong day two board. However, it doesn't get there. I lose this day, but it's a great foundation for a bunch of different potential lines. So moving into day three, we add a seaweed, we add a Luso Ray, but those are mainly because we picked up an elemental depth charge, and this gets multicast for each aquatic item you have. So I was just trying to play a bunch of small aquatics to give this as much multicast as possible. So earlier in the run, so day three, having 8 multicast, getting like 40 poison, but I mean that's scaled with the Yeti crab next to the depth charge. It's just when it goes off, it's going to win you the game or that day. But let's talk about the other additions. I upgraded Zorcid, I upgraded the Yeti Crab, I added a Silver Life Preserver, and I added a Clam just for that additional small aquatic item. Clam's not super good early, but I mean it's amazing late. However, it's just awesome for this build right now. The biggest reason why I wanted to go into Elemental Depth Charge was I already had the Yeti Crab. When this goes off, it's going to freeze every time it does its cast. So it's going to freeze 8 times, which is going to trigger the Yeti Crab to scale my poison 8 times. Now, I could have put the catfish next to the Yeti Crab, but I figured that the haste on it would be just a little bit better. So seaweed's a little bit meh, clam's a little bit meh, but it's all buffing the elemental depth charge, which is what's going to carry us for, day 3 to day 8 or so. So this is kind of why I named the beginning of the run EDC. You can kind of see that this is the centerpiece of this build. All right, so day 4, I actually didn't change my board at all, which is interesting. But down here, I got 12. I got 12 regen, and that's due to this skill that's giving me 10 regen. I was able to pick up a frontal shielding, and I think I accidentally added this, but I already had the poison, and I gained 1 additional XP. So this day wasn't so much progressing the board, but it gave me a little bit of regen and some skills and a little bit of XP. But I end up winning this fight. All right, moving into day 5. We upgraded the catfish. We upgraded the Zorcid. We found a gunpowder to give our elemental depth charge an additional ammo, which is really, really powerful. I found a figurehead, which is giving all of these reduced cooldown. We got a little bit more regen, and I wanted to emphasize what I had in the stash. So on day 5, I was able to find you know, the event where you spin the wheel, and I got the upgraded hat from it. So what this can do is it's going to upgrade any of my items, And I actually left it in the stash because I felt as though this build right here was already really strong, and I want to upgrade the depth charge. But if I upgrade the depth charge right now, I'm not gonna find a gold one on day 6. So I figured that I had a better shot at either finding a upgrade a silver item event or finding a silver elemental depth charge to get this to gold the next day and then upgrading it to diamond. So I did kind of greed the upgrade in my stash, purely because I felt like with an upgraded Zorcid, a 2 charge depth charge with a Yeti Crab, a life preserver keeping me alive, I just felt really strong, and so I didn't need to do the upgrade. So I was like saving it for a potential high roll the next day. So day 6, I was able to upgrade the depth charge. That was via the hat. I felt as though I didn't want to greed it any longer. I didn't get the silver upgrade and I didn't get the depth charge, but it was a gamble that I was willing to take. That I think was a good gamble. It didn't pay off. Here, I think I actually misplayed. So I added the seaweed and the ambergris because I wanted additional multicast on the depth charge, but I think having the life preserver and one less multicast would have just been better, because my thought process was as well the last multicast is the most important, or not the most important, but the highest impact, because the Yeti Crab is scaling that poison. So by the time it casts the last one, it's doing like 40 additional poison. So I wanted to stack the poison even higher. However, I died before the poison was able to do its course. So staying alive with poison is important. So it's interesting whether or not the life preserver would have helped or not. The other reason the life preserver would have been good is it does shield, and I have this frontal shielding. So without the life preserver, I'm getting no value from this skill. So potential misplay. It's hard to tell. I gained additional XP on this, and I upgraded the burn skill, so this just got an additional burn. Now, that wasn't a good enough day to get me the win, so I did fall back one. I took the loss. But moving into day 7, I was able to find this pearl, which I really liked. And what it's doing is it's triggering this skill that I got. So what this skill is whenever you use your leftmost item, haste 1. So the pearl is going to get charged, and it's going to be casting more than the rest of my items, so it's going to keep the haste going. The rowboat's a really good skill, or sorry, it's a really good item here. It's going to be charging my depth charge, and it's going to get hasted from the Zorcid to keep charging it. So rowboat was awesome, and I also just would love to get an upgraded rowboat. It's going to make the depth charge cast a ton. Now, this skill here, equivalent exchange, it's from Joyful Jack. What it's going to do is if I heal or gain regen, it's going to charge a poison item. Now, let's go back a day real fast. I have this ambergris, which is going to which will heal at like a 4-second cast time, which is reduced by the figurehead. I do think that playing that over this catfish would have been better. Now, my catfish ended up doing about 100 poison in this run, but a hasted amber is going to heal and charge the depth charge, because if I leave the catfish in, the charge trigger from the skill could go to either the catfish or the depth charge. But if I just remove this, the only target is the depth charge, and I could have, charged this and made it go off even quicker, which is a big goal. Now, I added this book from my stash. I got it from, one of the events, and what it's going to do is it's just going to give me a random skill each day. But that I just wanted to add this so you guys understand why I got the skills in the next day. Um, Now, one of the big things about this day 7 for me was I was able to get additional 3 XP. So I'm perfectly leveled up here to level 9 over this level 8. Again, huge advantage. It's just a big health difference, and that's really important when you're trying to play depth charge. You live longer, so your poison's going to do more damage. So win this day, and then I move into day 8. So day 8, I got to level 10 right at the end, and it presented a couple options. It was a slow enchant or a heal enchant. And I decided to take the heal enchant and put it on the pearl so that it triggers the equivalent exchange, charging my depth charge at a great rate. I also added in the amber because like I said the last day, it's going to charge this. So my whole goal is just to get the depth charge off as fast as possible. It's being charged by the rowboat, this heal trigger, and this heal trigger. I was also able to upgrade the figurehead, which was really nice because now all of these have reduced cooldown. I upgraded the fire skill, so this just got one additional burn. And then my random skill from the book was heated shells. Not incredibly relevant, but I guess it does 5 more burn when the depth charge goes off. So win day 7, or sorry, win day 8, and then moving into day 9, we were able to upgrade the rowboat. That's a huge, huge upgrade. The difference between charging 1 and charging 2 is a massive amount. So when you're playing Vanessa, understand Diamond Rowboat is a key item to have in the late game. So then we look down at the skills. I was able to get additional critical strike, additional poison on my depth charge, and I got this random jewels skill that is not doing anything for me. I got 2 additional XP this day, and I'm keeping the book in my stash. So due to the powerful rowboat upgrade, I was able to take down my opponent day 9. All right, so day 10 is a little bit interesting. I don't have any board upgrades, but I do have some key items in my stash. So I was able to pick up Tropical Islands, which is nice just to get a little more regen and health each day. Like if you have a lot of gold, it's a good pickup and you have stash space, like, why not? The biggest stash here is this Shipwreck. So Shipwreck, one of the most powerful items on Vanessa. It's very worth buying if you can afford it. It's an enabler for many, many different win conditions in the late game, and it's just, I don't know, I can't say more about it. It's awesome. Looking down here, I got more regen, which is like so irrelevant at this point in the game, by the way. It's just 2 regen at 4,000 health is just not really cutting it. I got slow and steady, again, from the book, not relevant, but I got 1 additional XP. So in this kind of transitionary day, I did lose, it's kind of easy to see that I'm not stronger than I was day 9. So I didn't do anything to upgrade my board. I just purely added stuff to my stash. But sometimes it's okay. It's definitely fine to, take a step backwards if it's going to give you 2 steps forward. So it's all calculated. Now, moving into day 11, knowing, let's take a step back. So having the shipwreck gives you the option of playing anchor, and anchor is mainly a combo centric build where you need a couple of key pieces. You need the anchor first and foremost, you need the shipwreck, you need figurehead, and you need rowboat. So I already have a diamond rowboat and a gold figurehead that are working with this build. So they're getting value by helping me with the depth charge, but they're also pivotal combo pieces to playing anchor and then picking up the shipwreck. I'm like, okay, all I need to do is find an anchor, and then when I get to level 13, I can upgrade it. So that ends up happening, which is very fortunate for me. It is something I tried to hunt down, like in the events. I targeted the medium shops. Like you definitely want to increase your probability of getting it because it's just gonna carry you in the late game. So I did get the anchor. I was able to upgrade it when I hit level 13, and I had a clam in my stash. So what's happening with this build right now is the clam's going to instantly go off twice. It's going to haste the anchor. The rowboat eventually will cast, and it'll charge the anchor 4 seconds. The anchor will then cast twice. So the anchor is doing 30% of their max health. When it goes off twice, it's doing 60% of their max health. So you want the anchor to then go off a second time to do 120% of their health, right? If they didn't heal or shield or whatever. Um, you do want additional damage on the anchor, and you can do that by either getting like an obsidian enchant, that'd be massive. You can do it with skills. You can get like, weapons deal double damage. You can get a critical strike enchant on it. You could find critical strike to buff the anchor, but ultimately you want that anchor to one shot your opponent. And right now it's doing 60%. So doubling that would do 120%. So finding crit, finding additional damage, etc. Now, one fun thing that did happen that it was not as strong as getting anchor, but it was an additional route I could have taken, was I got this skill from the book, which is from the dragon. And what this is whenever you use a medium item, your burn items gain burn. So the depth charge is a medium item. The rowboat was a medium item. So had I not switched into anchor, my depth charge would have been scaling with this skill, which would have been strong. And I was excited to try it, but the anchor came, so it was just a little bit more safe to take the anchor line to get to the 10 wins. I got one additional XP this day. So let's look at day 12. Nothing changes. Figurehead gets upgraded. I got strength from my diamond level up skill, which was a little bit mediocre, and I got this irrelevant skill from the book. I gained 2 XP, so I am 2 XP away from getting an additional level, which is nice. That's not that hard to do in the late game. So when I fought my opponent, the anchor just went off twice and, destroyed them. So I got the win. All right, day 13. I upgraded my critical strike skill, which is nice because again, I want the anchor to crit. I got this skill from the PvE encounter. It doesn't do anything because I can't shield, and I got a little bit more poison, which doesn't matter. What really does matter here is I added the integrated HUD. It's giving 40% crit to my anchor. Now, the clam was doing me the benefit of hasting because of my skill, the lefty loosey here, and it's going to haste the anchor on its own. I was just thinking and kind of playing around with it, but I was thinking that a 40% crit chance on 2 anchors, the anchor's sitting at like 60% crit chance. So what I'm getting at is 60% crit chance twice is pretty likely to happen, and that would mean I would one-shot my opponent because, I could do 30% of their health and then 60%. I guess that doesn't one-shot. I needed to crit twice. So um, added the crit, but it did end up killing my opponent, I think in 2 goes. It was day 13. It's still on the early side. Hitting the anchor build on day 12 here is just like insanely powerful. And day 13, it's still strong. You do really want it to one shot in the later days because you're not gonna have as much time to cast a second time. But here it's still early enough. It's also worth noting I picked up rest just to keep myself alive. But that's it for this build. I think it was really fun. It's nice to navigate a build where you kind of have pieces of a late game build that are working for you early game, and finding the shipwreck. It's just not going to happen every game, but when you can find it and you have the money, it's really worth investing in. And finding this combo for Vanessa is a really really good way to win many runs. Like you can win late game really easily. All right, cool. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this build and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.